Hi. So, this is the part two of things that I found to be quite interesting and very unique in China. So, the last video, I spoke about other things. Now, I want to go and talk about families in China, how the family setup is, and also marriages and everything. So, the first thing that I observed in China is that most families have one child. And you guys might be arguing and saying, oh, but there's a one child policy. No, it doesn't exist anymore. There isn't any one child policy anymore in China. People are allowed to have two children. People can have three children now in China. But because there's always been this one child thing in their mind, most still have one child. They are not budging. They are not willing to go into two. If there is a family that we consider to be big, they probably have three children. Those are big families. But yeah, most of them is still one child. And now, look at this. When a young couple gets married, right? The parents of the husband must move into the couple's house and they start staying with the in-laws. So basically, amwene nathi njara vanouya kuzogara the young couple. They are supposed to help them to raise their child. But they come even before this child has been even conceived. They already move in, they're settling in and everything. And then by the time this couple has a child, it's the responsibility of the grandparents to raise this child. Not just grandparents, but the paternal grandparents. Now, it's culture, right? The paternal grandparents have to raise this child. This is where I tend to question and I tend to see people stepping on each other's toes and people just not treating each other well. Take, for example, I know one student of mine. His dad is an only child. His mom is an only child. And then they get married. The parents of the men come in and live with him. The parents of the woman have literally been left alone. They don't have a son, so they cannot move in with their son. They only have a daughter, so they are going to live by themselves. So these in-laws have moved in and they start helping taking care of the child. That means this child grows to know their paternal grandparents, not their maternal grandparents. Their maternal grandparents will visit, but they are not allowed to raise that child. The paternal grandparents should raise that child. Literally. Most of the children in China are very close to their grandparents. Most people in China, even my university students, they are very close to their parents to their grandparents, because their own parents are busy working and making money, and they leave the raising part of the children to their grandparents. And they are very close to their paternal grandparents, not their maternal grandparents. With maternal grandparents, it's almost like they don't exist. It's almost like they're an afterthought. These children have to make an effort, or these maternal grandparents have to make an effort to be active in this child's life. It's just like, it's just the culture. It's just the way it is. I don't think they feel that there's anything wrong with that. But let me tell you a little story. One day I went to a certain house, and there I found my student with his maternal grandpa. Each time I would go to this house on a Friday, I would find the paternal grandma or the paternal grandpa in the house. This couple does not live with the parents. They actually live on their own. They are pretty wealthy. So the parents have their own humongous house, and this couple have their own humongous house. So they live by themselves with their child. But this child goes to the paternal grandparents' house every weekend. So one day I walk in, and this time I didn't see the grandma or the grandpa. I saw a new face, and I looked at him like, who is that? And this little boy says, that's my grandpa, my other grandpa. I'm like, okay, is that your mom's dad? He says, yes, that's my mom's dad. But the mom's dad is a very strict man. So each time we are doing we are doing our class, and then the grandpa would just pop in just to like say, I'm here. This boy would settle down and behave so well. But when his paternal grandparents are there, he's on steroids. He's just unbelievable, uncontrollable. Like, he doesn't care. But this grandpa is the strict type. So eventually, when class was over, I hear the doorbell ring. Always, when the doorbell ring, if the grandparents are not there, it was usually because one of the grandparents had come to pick him up for the weekend. So now the doorbell is ringing. I'm also taking my coat and I'm putting on my coat. I remember it was winter. I'm taking my coat, I'm putting on my coat to get ready to leave. The doorbell rings, and the grandpa who's in the house goes to open the door. And outside, guess who's there? The paternal grandpa is there. Inside is the maternal grandma, the maternal grandpa. Now, the grandpa outside, paternal, let's call him Grandpa Wang. So Grandpa Wang is saying to Grandpa Joe, I've come to get son to take him for the weekend. And Grandpa Joe says, no, I am taking him for the weekend. And Grandpa Wang is standing by the door and says, no, but I always take him every weekend, or his grandma takes him for the weekend. And Grandpa Joe says, that's exactly the point. You're always taking him. This time it's me taking him. Now this boy is torn between the two grandparents, the two grandfathers. And unfortunately for Grandpa Joe is very strict. And little Wang likes Grandpa Wang because Grandpa Wang is not strict. So little Wang is like crying, I want to go with Grandpa Wang. And Grandpa Joe says, no, you are not going. And then Grandpa Wang is standing outside and is calling his daughter-in-law, little Wang's mom, to say, yo, I came to pick up your son, but your dad is saying I can't take him. And Grandpa Joe is inside and he's also calling his daughter to say, look, your father-in-law wants to take the boy away, but we agreed that I'm taking him for the weekend. What's going on? So I had to pretend like I couldn't fix my shoes, like it was taking me long to fix my shoes, because I just wanted to hear the conversation and how it was going to unfold and how it's going to end, right? Like journalist eyes, journalist ears, everything. Like I'm struggling with my shoes. Remember, in China, we take off our shoes when we're going inside the house. So I'm struggling with my shoes. I'm struggling to put on my shoes and all. Meanwhile, I'm just listening. And then the daughter-in-law says she doesn't talk to to Grandpa Wang, who's outside. She speaks to her dad, Grandpa Joe. And then she's telling Grandpa Joe, no, you are taking him for the weekend. He can't be going to Grandpa Wang's house all the time. You also need time with him. So Grandpa Wang is standing outside and he's hearing that conversation. And remember, in China, it's very normal to put your phone on speaker when you're talking to somebody. Like I told you, we don't have secrets here. We don't have secrets. I'm on the phone, it's on the speaker, and everybody's hearing my conversation. That's how it was. So he's listening and he realizes, okay, daughter-in-law is saying no. So he decided to be a gentleman. He jumps into the elevator. When I saw, the movie is not proceeding anymore. The movie's over, just like that. But the little boy was screaming inside. He wanted to go with Grandpa Wang because Grandpa Wang's house, oh my goodness. I've never been to Grandpa Joe's house, but I've been to Grandpa Wang's house. Whew, it's beautiful. It's huge. It's a huge house. And Grandma Wang is always like, oh no, Ethan. No, sit down. The teacher is here. Like, they're not strict at all. So he loves going to his paternal grandparents' house. So yeah, that is like also what happens when we have this one child thing. But that's the thing. The grandparents, the paternal grandparents move in. The maternal grandparents have to be visiting if they really, really want to see that child. They also have to be visiting. It's just the way it is. That is about child rearing in China. Grandparents raise children in China, not their parents, not a helper. Of course, there are a few rich families that will employ a helper, but with most of them, it's the grandparents' job to look after and to raise the grandchildren. And there are not many grandchildren. You probably have one grandchild or just two. So you actually feel like, good job. I've done the best. You know, this is what I'm living for, to raise my grandchild. So that is the setup. And it's actually also quite normal that you find that most of these children respect their grandparents more than they respect their own parents. They understand their grandparents more than they understand their own parents, because most of these parents are busy chasing money, chasing business deals, chasing this and that. But the grandparents are so dedicated to raising these children. They are friends with their grandparents, these children. Like, I've seen it in the homes that I go into. You can see that this child and their grandma are friends. This child and his grandma are friends, and the grandpa are friends. I'll share with you some incidences that I've witnessed where these children just behave like their grandparents are their friends. They are not even grandparents. Right. So this video has become long. Okay, I'll come back with part 3 of the things that I've observed in China that actually make me think, okay, this is different. Goodbye.